right. Don't you know? Don't you know? Late edition of the Chirping Bucks podcast, but how can we not? Thanks for being here. Got a special guest with me tonight, my good friend Josh Caul. Can't wait to have him get in there and talk a little hockey with us. But before we get into it, make sure you're following the Chirping Bucks podcast on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, wherever you're on social media. Make sure you follow us. But we're going to get into it. I'm going to introduce my good friend Josh Caul. Josh, my main man, how are you? How are things? First of all, congratulations on a big win.
You know, things are great north of the border right now. We have all kinds of fresh water. We have all kinds of oil. We have all kinds of energy. We have all kinds of tariffs, and we have a hockey championship.
I am totally clipping that for the portfolio, and it's well said. And you know, and we'll get into it and a little bit about it. So real quick, just a little backstory of Josh and I. Josh and I, you know, besides hockey, we're huge Dave Matthews fans. Josh and I, and we've been friends now. Shit, man, for what 3-4 years, I believe, like about 4 years. So I haven't had a chance to meet in person. Obviously, it's north of the border, but we're going to make that happen in the future at some point. But yeah, we're you know, we fell in love, you know, have the love for the band, and we kind of became friends from there. Little short story: Josh was raffling off a poster that I won, and that's how him and I became friends. And it's crazy because I was telling Erica how it went from me to somebody else, I think to somebody else, and then you ended up winning it back.
It's on my wall downstairs, so it made its way back to me.
I love that.
Off that thing too, so it's you know.
Yeah, he made a couple. Dude, it's a sweet Sperry, man. It's a sweet Sperry. But yeah, we're huge Dave Matthews fans, but we're also huge hockey fans. And you know, just a little bit about you. Just talk a little bit about like how you kind of besides obviously it's your home sport, or is it one of those things like do all Canadians like just love the sport of hockey? And that's actually like an honest question.
No, I think so. Obviously, I've been in. I think it's obvious. I've been into hockey my entire life. Like it's something you live and breathe here. My kids, like I've got photos of them. They were up until 11 o'clock at night tonight, falling asleep on the sofa, but refusing to go to bed because they wanted to see the championship. That is the way we live. That is the way we grow up. And I was really fortunate to live on Vancouver Island during the 2011 Cup run. And I was also there for the 2010 Canada Olympic gold. So like hockey's just, it's part of your soul, it's part of your identity as a Canadian. I go to as many NHL games as I can a year. I also go to professional women's hockey league games whenever I can, like just seeing good.
Love it. The PW. So Ottawa is that's your home rink, right?
That's right. Yeah, Ottawa's my home. The Senators.
The Senators, which I'm a huge fan of. I'm a huge fan of the Ottawa because of Claude Giroux.
Yeah. Claude is there. he's definitely.
I love it. I love it.
But yeah,
he's playing some good hockey over there. I mean, you got to see him a lot more than I have, but I still follow his career, and it seems like he's still playing some good puck over there.
He plays well, and I mean, being on a line with Brady the Chuck is not a bad thing, right?
Well, you saw that firsthand in this tournament, but yeah, Josh is a huge hockey guy. We did some podcasting back in the day, and Josh was always one that I always wanted to get back on the show to do. But let's dive into it, man. Let's dive into the first part of it, and that kind of is. What the expectations were, and I want to hear from the people obviously as well to comment in. But we'll start off with you. What were your expectations going into the international play? We haven't seen something like this in a while. This wasn't the Olympics or anything like that. This was something very much different. And I want to know your opinion on what your expectations were.
My expectations were super low. I thought of this like the All-Star game. I thought that this was going to be a little exhibition kind of thing, where people they tried to rest up. They didn't really put themselves on the line. That was blowing out the window. That is not the game. This was international hockey. These guys were playing like it was the Olympics, man. They were putting them. I mean, you look at some of the blocked shots even tonight.
Right? Matthews had a couple of them.
One of a 90-mile-per-hour slap shot in an exhibition game. The amount of dedication that all teams had coming into this was just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
What do you think it was that kind of had you start leaning towards like, man, this is for real? I mean, for me, if you don't mind, I think it was that first USA versus Canada game.
First 9 seconds of the game last Saturday. That's it. Like that's where the tone was set. Like, okay, we're playing. Like this is business.
It was incredible too. Like just to touch on that game, like anybody that's not a fan of the sport, a lot of people are like, oh, well, I go for the fights and stuff like that. And listen, it's still part of the game, but it's very different. But watching that game and seeing what I saw the first 9 seconds, and my girl's got she's having like a Galentine's event, and I'm upstairs like, let's go, boys. Like, like, this cannot be real. And it sure as hell was. I mean, we saw 3 fights, and just both Chuck brothers. Like, we all know how they play the game. And like, you don't with the expectations that we were talking about, I think I was in my mind so much that just like all really good hockey fans and people that cover the sport, like we wanted this to succeed so much. So I think I started in my mind was just like, this is going to be great, but like still a lot of question marks.
Yeah, and I think listen, man, this couldn't have ended better.
You're 100%.
An overtime win, right? Like a hard fought game. It was so close, man. Like the only reason Canada won is because of Bennington.
And how crazy is that? We were just talking about him, Josh, and we were saying how like, he was the weakest link on the ice.
When I looked at the rosters and I looked at how our teams were stacked up, and this is my perspective. If you agree or disagree, it's fine. But I felt like our offense was better than yours. Our defense was weaker than yours, and the goaltending was the linchpin. I felt like that was the weakest spot. So I felt like you guys played a really tight defensive game that was better than ours. But we have really strong offense. I feel like our offense was stronger than yours. I mean,
for sure. Just with a couple of the studs that you have.
Yeah, like McDavid, like it's
McKinnon, McCarr. We had the grit, we had the defense, we had the better goalie, but you guys had that. You guys had that high-powered offense. I mean, realistically, the only reason why those fights happened was because they were challenged.
You guys shut us down. Like that first game we played, you guys were able, and even tonight, Sidney Crosby had 0 shots on goal tonight.
I think he had 1,
or maybe he got 1. Okay,
he had that one little rinky dink. We'll fact check that. We'll for sure. I'm gonna take a look. Because he was a big assist guy.
How do you shut down a player like Captain Canada with a good defensive core? That's how you do it. So your defense was definitely better than ours. There's no question about it. And my biggest concern, and you and I talked about this last night, I said, like, my biggest concern is the goaltender. Like, absolutely. Yeah. If Bennington has a bad day, we're screwed. But, man, did he show up tonight? Holy.
Yeah, he certainly did. And somebody that showed up real quick, Josh, our good friend Ryan Guy comes in, one of my hockey boys, as a Canadian. Big dub. Ryan, thanks for checking in. Another one of my good friends, Hoove, captain over there of the Corn Stars. Such a great journey. Good for the game. Canada still sucks, USA. I love it. My main man, Ryan, checking in. Thanks, bro. Watching those fights last weekend made me think of when I was watching you and I scumming it up that one game. Yeah, me and Ryan had a couple. We had a couple tussles.
I'm not gonna lie. My favorite fight was the one where JT Miller uppercutted his face.
Are you
it's so helmet
hit himself right in the face, dude? So JT, he spent some time in Vancouver. Is he a player you guys think that you're missing? Just to ask.
I really like JT Miller in Vancouver. I did. Dressing room issue. They had to decide either move on or restart, and he was the one who got moved. So it is what it is, right?
Yeah, it is what it is. We just asked about him.
Miller, like he's an emotional player, man, and he goes out and like I don't think there's anyone on the Vancouver team you could say gives more than that kid does.
Love it. Well said.
Shift, man. Like,
well said. Really well said.
But that doesn't always work, right?
No, it doesn't. And speaking of things, that's not working, I actually leads me to my next point. And I want to ask you, and obviously I want to hear from the audience too. The first game, much different than this game. Obviously more at stake in this game, but Bennington played out of his mind today. And do you think he was the weakest point in that game, or what do you think? Or was just the tone set from the beginning of the game where USA was just going to absolutely dominate?
So what I'm going to say is probably not going to be popular with your American fans, but
Please, we got the fans all over.
But I think Canada plays the long game, right? Like we're used to these international competitions, right? It was one game. It was one game. For us, it was one game. It was 2 points. That's it. So we're not going to kill ourselves to try to get those 2 points. If we can tack away to the final, let's keep ourselves healthy and be ready to go in the final, right? So
really well said.
The strategy was to play to the level we needed to play to get us to the final, and to be healthy in the final to win the game.
I think that had a lot to do with tonight, Josh, too, because you obviously saw Matt Tkachuk. He didn't play in the third period. He didn't play in overtime. A presence that you need in this kind of situation, and we didn't have them. I mean, listen, both goalies were outrageous, but that's a difference maker.
Yeah, Hellebuck is outstanding. Yeah, he's outstanding. Like the guy took what was it, 25 shots tonight, 26. He let 3 in on 26. So. But he's been playing off his rocker. But as your defensive core gets slower or weaker, you're depending more and more on that guy, right? Like, he's so good. And I think, like, from a hockey program point of view, as strategy goes, like, we're used to playing the long game.
Yeah.
Here, right? Like,
really well said.
We've been at the forefront of winning international competitions for a really long time. And we know what the journey looks like. So we didn't get too excited going into the first game. I think we played and it wasn't a blowout either, right?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't at all. But we maintained our health and it got us to where we needed to be. And we had enough gas in the tank to be able to pull it off tonight. But it was still a super close game tonight.
It's really well said. And once again, congratulations to Team Canada. Those of you just checking in, we got our good friend Josh Caul on the show. Talking about the 4 nations and just the outcome and what the expectations were, and just kind of a little bit all around about it. This was a pretty incredible game, and I think you're absolutely right, Josh. I think that the injuries and just Canada's long game, we played with so much grit, and our style of play essentially probably cost us because
it was this immediacy.
You lost Charlie McAvoy. You lost, which was a huge loss. I mean, you saw the way he was able to play the game, and Matt Tkachuk was sitting on the bench, and I can only imagine what that was like for him. I mean, he's a gamer; he wants to get out there and play, and he was shelved. And I think that has a lot to do with what you were just saying. In the moment, we're watching this and we're watching it unfold. Like, oh my God, the USA! Like, look at the way they're playing. Like, look at the roster. They're going to compete. But they just played with that extra grit that may have cost them. I mean, it set the tone. It set the tone initially for this championship game, but the wits and smarts of the Canadian sport, and the team itself just kind of knew what they were doing. It's like they were already, just like the Gretzky, the way he played, he was already 2 steps ahead of the game.
Exactly. He's thinking 3 games down the road, right? Like, so I think that was definitely part of it. It was interesting because, of course, as you did, I watched social media after the win on Saturday, and I would swear, like, you guys won the Stanley Cup for the next 10 years. Like, that's what I was seeing. Right?
I wish somebody would say that to me, being from Philadelphia. That would not be great.
it was so bombastic, and that's like where we're different, right? Like, we're not necessarily like that. So, it just found it interesting to see that immediate, like. I guess what I'm getting at is the immediacy, right? It's like, oh, frig, we won today. Great, but like that doesn't get you the championship, right?
That's like Kobe Bryant mentality, man. That was his thing. But well, a little bit into this championship game, Canada wins a thriller 3-2 in overtime. Connor David scores the OT goal. I mean, right off the bat, you can't leave that guy in the slot. No, but I just think I showed just the tiredness and just. They were probably exhausted. They were gassed.
Yeah. They were leaving gap. Well, I mean, you left the gap that Connor McDavid can fit into. You don't want to leave that gap ever. I think one of the on this point that I find really interesting. I'm going to go back to 2010. So in 2010, Canada versus USA Olympic gold medal game in Vancouver for 2010 Olympics. Sidney Crosby gets the gold medal goal. I don't know.
Golden goal. Yep.
But it wasn't really Sidney Crosby. It was Jerome McGinley. And Jerome McGinley, I think, had 6 assists in that competition, right? And what he did is he set the best players up for the best goals. So all the goals, like in my view, were his. He set it up properly, right?
Of course.
What I saw from Sidney Crosby in this competition was the exact same thing. He became the old guy who's setting everyone else.
Isn't that really cool to see? Because at that time, because Jerome McGinley had played in Pittsburgh for a little bit, I believe, towards the end of his career. So and Crosby was there, and I mean, watching Jerome McGinley the way he played the game, and obviously from Calgary, not you from Calgary, but him playing in Calgary for so long, like it's really the leaf was turning. McGinley was making his way out, Crosby was coming in, then you see the vice versa. Like you're seeing Crosby with 3 assists in the first game.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. You're seeing Crosby become the mentor, the leader, the guy who's setting the others up, like Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner wouldn't have had that goal had it not been for Crosby. Crosby, that was
an incredible play. He was a step ahead of the game. And speaking of step ahead of the game, our good friend Brian Santora checks in. Brian, I just want to tell you, sorry I couldn't ref with you tonight. Carr had to go in the shop. I was supposed to ref a game tonight with my main man, Brian Santora. Goalie, McDavid open in the slot, 60-40 chance. Shooters always have that advantage. I mean, it's true. But seeing who it is, you just can't have that guy open. And Santora, thanks for checking in, Bauer. Make sure you check out Spartan Goaltending.
Frankie, you have to ask yourself, you're like, okay, who do you cover then? So you cover him and you sit open? Or you leave McKinnon open, or who do you leave open, right?
Yeah, he crept right in there. He knew exactly. He's a player that, and he showed it tonight. And listen, he wasn't huge on the stat sheet, but funny because Mark Messier picked him to score the golden goal tonight, and he's a step ahead. It's the guys like that have that mentality that are just a step or 2 steps ahead of the game, and if it works out, it happens.
And he's fast.
He's fast as shit, dude.
So it's ridiculous. Lightning. And I mean, I can't stand the guy because I'm a Vancouver fan, so I play Edmonton like every second Tuesday. And this kid drives me crazy because he's so friggin' good. He's so good.
It's incredible to see just the talent. I mean, when we were talking about this, just seeing the talent, how a lot of people hate on Crosby and how he is, but what an ambassador for the sport. Like we got to watch one of the greatest players ever to play the game. So, Connor McDavid, seeing him for the way that he feels in, it's just cool seeing the Leaf and just the new talent that's coming in. It's just only getting better and better. But I want to mention something because we were talking about this last night. So we were going to do a show earlier and we were going to do our predictions, but we have to mention our predictions because ironically, Josh and I were on opposite sides. I actually thought that Team Canada was going to win this game for the aspect of and you had said, I think the USA's got it. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't think that you can beat Canada twice. Kind of ironic how that worked out.
It's kind of funny. Yeah. I thought I was going to eat humble pie tonight as a Canadian. And I was not looking forward to it. And the biggest issue for me was our goaltending. I didn't feel like our goaltending was solid. I was nervous about it. On top of that, America had this momentum going into the game. You know what I mean? It was like Eagles and Air Force One and loud music. I don't know. There was just this bombastic American thing going into it. And I wondered if that would play with the psyche of the Canadian team. But I'm really impressed at the fact that, yes, we lost Saturday, but our team didn't change. It kept the same system, the same momentum, the same structure, and it just played its game. And I think it worked out well because if they had responded to it, I don't know that we would have had the result that we had. Yeah,
we really would have had to just do a little bit more work probably. But let me ask you this: who was your MVP of the series?
Who's
my... I'm going to give you mine first. I'll let you think about it for a second. I put you on the spot there. So Crosby is probably one of the top people on my list. What he was able to do, kind of, to get them, get him going and be that leader. But man, it's really hard not to say Bennington, just the way that he played tonight. Because I think without his play, you don't win that game.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. If Bennington, but I feel like Bennington only showed up tonight. You know what I mean? He played outstanding tonight. I was texting you the whole time saying on his head, right? That being said, like he didn't play as well as Hellebuck did throughout this series. Not even close. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, but I'm altering my mindset to kind of think about what you're putting out there of like that long game, and Santoro says it right here. USA punched Canada in the mouth, literally and figuratively, in that round robin game, but Canada dug in and played their game, and they didn't do much.
Chuck was the only one who won a fight that night. Matthew, he turtled, and JT Miller punched himself in the face. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, I mean, but just like we were saying, Canada kind of just didn't make any changes, and they knew what they were getting going in, and they kind of stuck with it.
They played their system.
It's tough. I now that I'm thinking about it, like, I mean, he's a big factor on why we won, but like the MVP, I mean,
if I were to choose MVP, and I'm not going to focus on Canada because like it can be really biased really easily. If I look at the US. Yeah, man, I think it's Hellebuck.
And Brady was incredible.
Brady and Hellebuck, man, like those two guys were bleeding every shift, and of course Hellebuck's out there the whole time. But Hellebuck, like he stood on his head the whole series. He was solid. Like if there's anyone you can blame for the U.S. losing tonight, it's not Hellebuck.
Oh, hell no. You got Connor McDavid in the slot, dude. There ain't much you're going to be able to do.
He's been solid. He's been absolutely solid the whole competition. And Brady Tkachuk has been pretty great too, as much as I hate to admit it. But he's been a solid player.
I know. It's funny to hear like that there was talks about them moving on from him. I just don't understand how that could ever happen.
Who's moving on from him? Sorry,
I said it's surprising to hear that at one point there were talks about like Ottawa wanting to move on from Brady.
Yeah, no, they're not getting rid of him. There's no doubt. Like
no, he's a gamer.
So it's funny. He lives not far from me. Hey, and when he got here, he received like there's this orientation package you get from the team about like how to integrate in the environment and the community. Right? So he went around, he was knocking on everyone's door, introducing himself like, hi, I'm Brady Tkachuk. I play for the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, I love that. And Santoro checks back in. Thanks for checking in tonight, brother, too. Hellebuck quietly establishing himself as one of the best American-born goalies, now chasing quick, wishful thinking. Santoro, I actually want to know. I believe I've had Santoro on. He's a goaltender. He runs a goaltending clinic, Spartan Goaltending out here in the tri-state area out here. I think it was Brodeur that he kind of like modeled his game after, because Santoro's a hell of a goalie too. He's a really good goalie. I'm actually thinking about doing a little clinic and trying goalie out with him to try a new position. But who would you say what was someone that you modeled after and like you was one of your favorite goalies? I'm asking
Luongo for sure. Like Luongo was somebody.
Yeah. Rachel checking in. Yay, Josh Canada won. I'm so happy. I'm so happy about that. Thanks for checking in.
A Matthews person as well.
The name looked familiar.
so for me, like my time was like Corey Crawford, Roberto Luongo. Right. Like Roberto Luongo was he was just incredible, man.
He really was.
You see some of the saves this kid would make, and then like his backup was Corey Schneider.
I know. It's
Corey
really
Schneider's their backup. It's incredible.
I look at some of the goalies. I know we're getting away from talking about the championship game, but I knew that we were going to be just talking hockey during the show. Like seeing some of the goalies that just were so good that just didn't win the big one. Like I look at Lundqvist as like prime example. Like he's a Carey Price. I mean, you and I have talked about him plenty of times. Lundqvist, Carey Price, Luongo, just like guys like that just never were able to win the big one. Carey is the one I definitely really want to see it in that playoff series against the Rangers.
Well, you and I don't know if you remember this. It's probably 4 or 5 years ago. We were texting when Carey Price went into the employees
program. Yeah.
And I got some information. I was texting with you about it. I'm like, shoot, this is what's going on with Carey.
I remember that.
Just an incredible talent. But you know what? If it didn't work for his life at that time, then it doesn't work for your life at that time. And that's more important than the game.
Yeah, and speaking of that kind of leads us into our next topic here. And once again, congratulations to the Team Canada. What an incredible game. But kind of bigger than the game. Talk about USA and Canada, kind of like the world. And like, do you? I want to ask you just like, we'll start off with like a question here. Do you think the political aspect of it had a play in the USA versus Canada matchup?
1000%. Anyone who thinks that wasn't driven by the political climate is not paying attention. 1,000,000%. This was an exhibition series that went off the fucking rails because it was politically driven. It reminds me of, what was it, 1979 with Canada USSR, when it's the same sort of tempo, man.
There hasn't been anything like this since over here with USA since Team USA in the USSR in 1980. Right. I mean that's, and you see so much, with the movie, with the Miracle, like you saw so many highlights of that. Like it's just, it was very relatable, and we haven't seen anything like that since then, realistically.
Yeah, it's been interesting, and I noted watching the start of the game.
Santor checks in. Frankie, I fucking love this guy. Book him again. Absolutely, Santor. We'll have to.
You know what? I noted at the start of the game, and we don't want to get too political because it's hockey.
Right? I think it's important. I think it is important to mention.
But I noticed, at TD Garden, our anthem was booed. I'm okay with that. I'm actually not upset about that at all. Mm-hmm. Now, why are you booing the anthem? Well, you're booing the anthem because we booed yours. Okay, great. Why did we boo yours, as in Canada? We booed yours because you openly challenged our sovereignty as a country.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
That is crazy. So you challenge our sovereignty as a country, and then we boo your song, and you're upset. And
it's right on the wall. I love my country. I'm proud to be an American, but we had to expect that it was going to happen.
It's uncomfortable for me because I have so many close friends who are American. Like, you're one of my good friends. I have
of course
many
love you, man.
But
and that's why I think that we were going to be able to talk about it too, because
we talked about it last night. We knew we were going to have to approach it, right? Like, this part of it is not cool, right?
Yeah,
it's not cool, man. And that's why winning tonight for us was so important. It was so important. It was just a big, flip the bird instead of the free bird. Do you know what I mean? So for us, it really mattered tonight, and I'm really happy we got the outcome we did. But on the flip side, as a Canadian, we're not a boisterous group of people, so we'll be fine, right? We'll just enjoy it.
I love you all, man. You guys are all great.
We'll wait for the next one.
You're a huge fan, man. Right? I like this guy, Josh. We had Santor mention, book this guy again. I'm loving it. And those of you that are checking in, we're getting ready to transition. We're just talking about the Four Nations. We're talking about obviously Canada with the huge win. And I got my good friend Josh Caul on, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what he's got going on in a couple minutes. But I want to talk about this because I think this is the exciting part of the game, of what we were able to experience and what we were able to watch. And I definitely want to hear from everybody that's watching too. And that's the futures of international play. You want to talk about setting the bar now. You want to talk about watching something that you can't ever now not do again.
Did we really have international play though?
We
did. We didn't have Belarus, we didn't have Russia, and I understand the reasons we didn't.
Point taken.
But 30% of the best players in the NHL were drinking Mai Tais in Maui this week. They weren't playing hockey.
Yeah.
So is that the best we say best on best? I don't think the last 10 days has been best on best. I think the last 10 days has been best on best of who's available.
Of course. Yeah, of course. 100%.
Best on best.
You think Team Russia would have, they would have, I saw some projected lineups with them, and they would have been real scary.
Rig, yeah. That would have, just imagine if it was Canada, US, Russia, and not to, minimize Finland or Sweden, but
times were different from when they had Peter Forsberg and Daniel Alfredsson and stuff like that.
Right. But you throw Russia in there, you throw Belarus in there. Like you got a different competition, man.
Do you think that is something that's going to be talked about with how well this went and the excitement and listen, we were talking about I'm on Facebook during the game. I'm talking with you, and as soon as I was down here getting the show set up, people I didn't even know that watched hockey were watching this game. And it's someone that loves the game like you do and respects the game, a player like me for as long as I've been playing. That's really, really cool to see. And what do you like? Is there a next step? Is this something that will come back?
Yeah,
I have to say, I think it's going to come back.
I think it's going to be every 4 years. I think what we'll end up seeing is the Olympics, and then kitty cornered every second year. We'll probably see this, and then there'll be the break in between.
I wanted,
and I think the break in between actually makes good sense because that's like teams are trying to get their systems organized. They're trying to build, what the program is. So I think it's going to be every second year we'll have international competition.
That's not too bad. I could take that.
I think so.
Do you see more teams being added in?
I could be wrong, but
no. I think it's a good philosophy. Listen, man, they'll listen to you, dude. Call the peeps, man. Tell them the deal. We got Do you see more teams being added?
Jeez. So here I get nervous about this conversation because I become like the guy at the bar. You know what I mean? Who's just getting angry as opposed to being smart about it. Should we add more teams? Maybe. But where? Like, what? We're gonna put another one in Arizona. We're gonna do another.
I was referring to I was referring to the nations. I was referring to different countries representation for the 4 nations, not the NHL.
Oh, sorry.
No, we don't need no more teams.
It has to. Like, yeah. I don't think 4 nations is representative of the players we have in the league. It's at least 5. At least 5.
I love it. Yeah, I think it was just really, really cool just to see so much people behind this game, and regardless of the situation, obviously it plays a factor, but I think there's a lot of new hockey fans out there after this. And I love that.
As much as I hate the political climate we're in right now, it's actually really good for the sport. It's been really good for the sport because people got behind it. Like people got interested. I know even at my brewery, like I put off a presentation tonight where it was like, come watch the show. Right. And we had, hundreds of people coming in, buying beer and watching hockey that probably otherwise wouldn't have. But the political climate has sort of fueled it.
Well, I guess since you just mentioned it, I guess we'll throw it up there. My good friend Josh, he has a brewery. He, is this Chelsea & Co? This is the brewery. Right. This is the logo. Make sure you go. I just invited a bunch of people to follow the page. Make sure you go out there and follow the social media page. This is what it looks like here, Chelsea & Co. Great stuff. It's a brewery out, and tell us a little bit about it. Yeah, I want to hear a little bit about it.
So we're located 15 minutes from the Parliament building in Ottawa, which is like the capital in the U.S. So we're 15 minutes away, but we're out in the hills. We've got 4.2 acres in the woods.
Wow, nice, Josh.
We're the second largest brewery in our region. So we do about 700 barrels of static capacity. We turn it over every 21 days. And we have 21 different products available for sale. I
think that's incredible, and congratulations on that. Make sure you go out there and follow them. I'll put the link in the comments and when we post out the show. Everybody probably already got an invite from me to follow the Facebook page. We're gonna keep those followers going, but that's incredible. It didn't surprise me when I heard that you were getting in that because you've always been a
always been a guy. Yeah. No, it's turning a hobby into a business. Yeah.
I love that. Congratulations on that too, man. I think that's pretty incredible. But I mean, I love it. I love what they did all week. I'm not gonna lie. There was a time where I forgot, like, oh my god, we still have the NHL coming up. Like before we forgot. Everybody kind of forgot about it, and they were so focused on this tournament. Same. I mean, who wasn't?
Brad Marchand. I don't know if you saw this. Like, fuck, man, I can't even believe that I'm talking positively about Brad Marchand right now. If there's one person I can't stand, it's Brad Marchand. But he was asked, like, how do you feel this sets you up for returning to regular season? And he said, I don't care about the regular season right now. I'm not thinking about it. And I was like, what a great answer. Like,
Yes.
I thought it was an excellent answer. Like, you worry about the alligator closest to the boat, and that's not your game against Pittsburgh. The alligator closest to the boat is beating the U.S. Worry about Pittsburgh next week.
I'm sorry. Santora checks in. Frankie, 1, you're missing after game beers. 2, you missed me falling tonight. 3, I'm finally off IR and playing Sugar Bush tomorrow night. Well, I'll make sure I come check you out then tomorrow night, buddy.
I like this guy. We should have virtual beers with him some point.
Oh, Santora will absolutely do that. Santora's like a mentor to me, man. He, like, when I got into refereeing, he was someone that I would call for that big brother, tough love, give it to me straight. How do I look out there? He's been incredible to a lot of help in my refereeing career. So Santora, thanks for checking in. I'll have to go back and watch the live barn. But yeah, man, I think that overall, I mean, how can it not be? The expectations were where they were, but they exceeded expectations like no other.
No, listen, I'm happy Canada won, but there was no loser tonight, man. That was an incredible game. Like, it could have gone either way any number of times. It was incredible. It was incredible.
It was. I was. And what more can you say? So, as we start the transition out here, we'll be back. Me and Bex will be back. We'll be back next week. We'll be back on routine. I know we took a little bit of a break. We have some things that are happening behind the scenes that will be launching soon. A little bit of some branding stuff going on. But what's next for you, Josh? What do you have going on? Plug the brewery one more time as well.
Yeah,
what's next for you, buddy?
Busy season coming up for me with the brewery. So lots of new releases. We're going to do some collaborations with American friends as well in Vermont. So you'll see my products down in the US and some products up here in Canada as well, because, while maybe the climate isn't great between us, I'll find ways for us to work together.
All about the love, man.
Yes, and that's what I'm concentrating on.
I love that. 100%. Yeah. It's great to hear, but yeah, that's gonna do it for us on this episode, the little special episode. Josh, thanks for coming on too, man. It's always great talking with you. Make sure you stick around after before we transition out here. We're gonna hit our last final comments here. Toxic, my man. Let's go, McDavid. I was talking to you last night. Rachel checks in one more time. What? And then Al checks in. So Canada A with the W. Al, thanks for checking in. That's going to do it for us at the Chirp and Pugs podcast. We'll see everybody next week.